Welcome, everybody, to the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Channel. It's Monday, October 23rd. And like every Monday, I'm the host, Ross Benjamin. He's my guest, Mr. Doug Upstone, every Monday afternoon. Always look forward to speaking with Doug. Doug, how are you?
I'm doing well, Ross. Not the weekend I had hoped for, but you know what? That's how sports betting goes sometimes. You don't always get what you wish. And so looking to just pick up pieces and move forward to a better weekend to end October coming ahead.
By the way, Doug is of DocSports.com. That's where you could find all his paid premium picks, which he does extremely well with. And, Doug, I got off to a sizzling hot start in college football. Hard to imagine I could have kept that pace up. Tailed off a little bit the last 2 weeks, going 6-9 in college football. But my NFL now has picked up. Over the last 2 weeks, I'm 6-2 in the NFL. And since week 2, 19-11 in the NFL. In Major League Baseball on a nice 7-2 run right now in the playoffs. So a lot of good stuff going on. And the overall record in college football and the NFL is a pretty good one, and I'll take that, and my customers will as well. So anything noteworthy you like to bring up what you witnessed this past weekend, Doug, in either the NFL, college football, or the Major League Baseball playoffs?
Well, the thing that I guess that stood out to me more than anything was for those that like to bet the winner of the Heisman Trophy, kind of got discombobulated a little bit this weekend. Pretty much none of them look good at various points, which was a bit of a surprise, I think, in some instances, but it just seemed to be kind of the way things just worked out. And that's not unusual, but they all three in particular, Caleb Williams again had some problems. Penix, that was a shocker. I mean,
yeah,
he really was off his game, from that standpoint. So yeah, it just, at least to me, kind of from that standpoint, that was maybe of anything, that surprised me the most, was just
J.J. McCarthy is now the Heisman Trophy leader in terms of betting odds go. So
and
I had to look at that twice because, we've been hearing about the cast of characters, two of them which you just mentioned, and that popped out at me as McCarthy. Wait a minute. So, and you look at his numbers and what Michigan's done so far, Doug, and it's rightfully so at this point.
Yeah, well, I watched, Michigan really hasn't played anybody, and not that Michigan State was a play. I did have that one correct, and that was about as easy as it gets. And it's still hard to get a great read on Michigan, and maybe the read is just they're that good, okay? And maybe that's what's the confounding part is because they're doing what they're supposed to do. They're beating everybody soundly. And that, and even though the competition hasn't been great, that's not their fault, okay, from that standpoint. And so I came away really impressed. I watched, more or less had the game on the entire time, watching 4 different games, but that one kind of had my attention more. And it's just, I was just really impressed. And so, there's a lot to like there. And then having watched earlier in the day, having seen Penn State, not really sure how Penn State really does a great job against Michigan because they have no ability to create big plays offensively.
Yeah. Their quarterback doesn't make mistakes, but by the same token, they're far from explosive offensively. And they've sort of a lot of games this year against less than stellar competition have really been uninspiring for the most part. And Michigan, all you can do is play the teams on your schedule. And like you said, they're crushing all of them. I mean, you compare that to a team like Washington, like you just mentioned with Michael Penix, and they win against Arizona State at home, 15-7 as a 26.5 point favorite. That was a shocker, not for the fact that they won, but the fact that they did not crush an Arizona State team that's probably the worst. Well, second worst team in the Pac-12. So again, Washington coming off that win against Oregon, I guess you can give them a little bit of an excuse. But in any event, and then the Major League Baseball playoffs, just a great series between the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers. Again, the most baffling thing in baseball this year has been Houston, how great they've been on the road. Yet, Doug, 40-46. right now, including the postseason at home. And also the Texas Rangers, I believe they're now 7-0 on the road in the postseason. And the Philadelphia Phillies, who have an opportunity to clinch tonight. I don't know if you people will see this in time, but in any event, we are recording on Monday, and the Phillies and Arizona Diamondbacks in about an hour and a half will be getting going. And the Phillies have a chance to get to the World Series for the second straight year in a row. And they've just been absolutely dominant at home. 6-0, Doug, winning all 6 of those games by 2 runs or more. And if I recall correctly, and outscoring those 6 opponents by a combined 39-8.
I don't, they got to go all going on right now. And it looks very similar to last year, except for, I think, though, they have better pitching. Except for one person, Craig Kimbrell. Yeah. Yikes. I mean, this series is over. Okay. If he doesn't pitch, or if he just pitches in one of those 2 games in Arizona, so this series is already over. So just got to avoid him. And I'm not sure what they're going to do with him going forward, but he certainly does not appear to be an asset, or at the very least, he is this is from years ago. Dan Stackhouse. Okay, that was his name. Okay, but the important part, though, his nickname was Full Pack, because that's how many cigarettes somebody would smoke when he would come into the game. Okay. So that was the story. And that's kind of where Kimbrell is kind of right now, at least for me anyways.
Yeah. He killed me. He killed me in that one, in what was it, game? Was it game 3 or game 4 where he gave up that game 4?
Get the home run.
Up that 3-run homer. I had the under 9, 4-2, bottom of the 8th. He gives up a 3-run homer to a guy that's, I don't know, how many home runs did that guy hit all year? Not many, Not many. Yep. At least, look, let's put it this way. He was not what you would consider a power hitter, but in any event, it is what it is. And that's why the Major League Baseball playoffs are grand. And the World Series coming up. And, Doug, this game tonight, I made a play on the total. I looked at the side and they said, Texas, how good they've been on the road. Houston, how bad they've been at home in comparison to what they've done on the road. And you got Max Scherzer going into game 7. Max Scherzer, the guy who's notorious for being one of the most clutch pitchers in the postseason in Major League Baseball history. Yet I couldn't ignore the fact that his one start against Houston in the postseason and his one on September 6th, he got hammered in both games. So I couldn't steer myself clear of that. So, I mean, I don't know if you have a play on that game, but any thoughts in that regard?
Yeah, I did not have a play in that game. And what part of what you said is the reasoning, and then you got Javier, who I believe him and the Astros are like 8-0, I think, when favored. If I'm not mistaken, some number right around there. With their troubles at home, to me, it's just a no play. I couldn't pull the trigger on that one, and just, hey, sit back and enjoy the game from that standpoint, because I don't know how interesting the Monday night game is going to be necessarily, but we'll find out. But it depends if McCaffrey plays. I think kind of makes the biggest difference in that one.
Yeah, that total is like 43.5. San Francisco. It's been a steady -7 right along. Minnesota's defense has played much better over the last 3 games, but they have faced 2 opponents, as I recall, in Carolina and one other team that I can't recall. Chicago, that's not exactly offensive juggernauts. So we'll see. And, McCaffrey being out, San Francisco is one of those teams, though, Doug. It's a plug and play with them. Look, McCaffrey, you're not going to replace him, right? But nobody expects you to. I mean, their backup running backs are fully capable in a short term or temporary basis, or a 1-game situation, of going for over 100 yards. So we'll see. It's a game I hope is much more interesting than a lot of people will think it will be, just from an entertainment standpoint. Anyway, we're talking college football today. And Doug is going to be talking about the Tennessee at Kentucky game. Tennessee coming off a disappointing loss at Alabama. It looks like they had the game in control, up 20-7 at the half, and then just a total meltdown in the second half. Alabama comes back to win, cover the 8.5 or 9 points, whatever you got in that game. And Kentucky, again, to me, an overrated team when they got off to that undefeated start. I think they got off to a 6-0 start, 5-0 start, something along those lines. And then they were really humbled in their last game at home against Missouri. And the game before that, they weren't even competitive against number 1 Georgia. Tennessee right now, 3.5-point favorite in Lexington at Kentucky. What do you got for us, Doug?
Well, and that game's going to be played Saturday night on ESPN at 7 Eastern. And the loser of this game will have 3 losses. And that's kind of a bigger deal, because I think if you get to 4, which is likely with these two teams, or one of these two teams, is that your bowl bid, your bowl invitation, I said, really changes quite a bit, dropping from 3 to 4, with 3 losses compared to 4. And Tennessee is going to face Georgia still, while Kentucky has to face Alabama. So, so the loser is looking at 4 losses here. Now, Kentucky will be the fresher of the two teams. They had a bye week last week, and they'll be playing at home, like as Ross just mentioned. Wildcats, like I said, have dropped 2 straight. Georgia, Missouri, 2 best teams in the SEC East. What was unmasked, at least in my opinion, in those 2 games, is that their quarterback Leary, the transfer from NC State, not an accurate passer, 54.4% on the season. SEC quality secondaries are a lot different to play against, and that has not helped him because of the speed and quickness difference. Additionally, the Cats rank number 14 in rushing yards allowed, but in their last 2 games, they've given up 173 and 125 against SEC teams. So facing stronger competition is going to send, I think, Kentucky's rush defense south of where they've been. As you mentioned, as you mentioned, Ross, Tennessee had a big lead against Alabama. Completely fell apart in the second half. Volunteer squad last year had another gear. I think we both agree on that. There was just something about that team that just was better. This team does not. Part of the reason, quarterback Joe Milton, he's just too inconsistent. His throws and his footwork really get off target or get off the trends when he faces a steady pass rush, guys in his face. And his receivers, from that standpoint, aren't nearly as good as what they were last year. Now, even though he's completing 62% of his passes and has a 3-to-1 touchdown to interception rate, they are 91st, Ross, in yards per pass attempt. So it's all short stuff, and I just don't think that's going to hold up for them. So what's going to happen in this game? Well, I still like the fact Tennessee is the favorite. I think it's very justifiable. They are number 7 rushing the ball, and I think that's going to be able to give the Wildcats problems. Along with that, they have the ability to collapse the pocket because they're 8th in sacks, and if they force Leary to have to throw the ball not on time, I think that's a problem. The clincher, Volunteers at Lexington, 13-2 straight up, 11-4 against the spread. Give me the Vols to get the job done on Saturday, Ross.
All right, the Tennessee Vols -3.5 at Kentucky. I agree with you, Doug. You're looking at a pair, I should say, of 2 lost teams, and the road team is favored by 3.5 in this matchup. So, I'm really disappointed with Devin Leary because I thought he would be a nice fit for Kentucky. I was never a big Will Levis fan. I thought he was overdrafted. I thought he was overrated, and I thought Devin Leary could step in and more than fill his shoes this year, but that hasn't been the case. And for whatever reason, as you attribute to having to face SEC defenses with better team speed, I think a lot of it has to do, too, is he doesn't have receivers that get good separation against an SEC type defense. So, and they have the running game at times, but it seems like when they step up in competition, they don't run the ball nearly as effectively, and that really hurts their play action passing. I agree. I think Tennessee is the better team in this matchup. I think the odds makers are giving you the winner here by making them a 3.5-point favorite. They're inviting you to take the home underdog with the extra hook on the field goal. And Doug likes Tennessee -3.5. I agree with him on this, and I very rarely like to play these conference road favorites in games where it looks like, if you look on paper, with all being equal, should be the home team that comes up on top here, but that's not the case here. I'm making an exception to the rule, not to agree with you, Doug, but just in my handicapping logic. All right, I'm going to look at Pitt and Notre Dame. Notre Dame is currently a 19.5-point favorite with a total of 45.5. And, you know, I was talking to you and Jim off air, and I said, yep, I looked for every reason I could to fade Notre Dame in the spot. Not because I don't like the Irish. I just think it's a hefty number for a team that's really, at the end of the day, yeah, they scored 48 on USC, but a lot of that was attributed to turnovers. They had 5 turnovers in that game, creating short fields, I believe 2 defensive touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. And they only had a little over 300 yards. But you look at this Pitt team, they're 1-5 straight up in ATS versus FBS teams. Now, they beat Wofford in their season opener at home. I eliminate that game. 6 games against FBS opponents, 1-5 straight up in ATS. And lo and behold, what did they do? They knocked off then unbeaten Louisville, who was coming off that big win against Notre Dame, 38-21. But let's not get caught up with that result because it's a bit deceiving. They were outgained by Louisville in that game, 444 to 305, and they had a +3 turnover margin, and that enabled them to pull that upset. Now, Pitt's 0-3 straight up in ATS on the road this season, and that includes last Saturday losing as a road favorite at Wake Forest, 21-17. And that's not a Wake Forest team that we've been used to seeing in years past. And they couldn't pull that off as well. Notre Dame, like I said, 48-20 win versus USC. They got Clemson up next. But here's the thing. You win a big game against USC, 48-20. You knock off then undefeated USC. You make the Heisman Trophy leader at that particular moment in time in Caleb Williams, who won the Heisman Trophy the year before, made him look extremely ordinary, if not below average, in that contest. And then you're taking on lowly Pitt. I just went through their numbers, not very good. And you got Clemson on deck, but you had a week off in between. So that, to me, helps a lot when it comes to a sandwich game that might be a flat spot. Secondly, it's not like Clemson is a national title contender this year. They've already lost 3 times. They're coming off an overtime loss against Miami of Florida. So I just think that Notre Dame, with the combination of just being the out-and-out better team, having a week off, and all of a sudden that Clemson game not having the magnitude as many thought it would, even a few weeks ago, I think this is a good spot for them. I think Notre Dame will run the ball effectively here. This is a Pitt run defense that's allowing 177 yards per game on the road. In those 3 road games against West Virginia, Virginia Tech, and Wake, 3 ordinary to below average teams, they only averaged 14.3 points per game and 273 yards game per contest. Notre Dame runs the ball, controls the clock, opens up play action passing for Sam Hartman, and Pitt struggles to move the ball on a very, very good Notre Dame defense. I'm looking at something of the nature of a 44-14 type of game. I'm going to lay the big number here with Notre Dame minus 19.5 over Duke.
Well, Ross, I congratulate you. You have more courage than I do to do that. But you did say something, though, that I definitely agree with, is that I think there will be lots of points in this game, and that Notre Dame has the ability to, get. I don't know if I agree with necessarily 40-some, but I think that they'll, be able to score on this one. And the other thing too is that if they get up and the reserves start coming in, I could see Pittsburgh getting a later fourth quarter touchdown. I'm not saying last minute or anything like that, but just a later fourth quarter touchdown. So I'm going to go over here, Ross. And now for giving out scores, hey, you know what? I'll play that game too. I'll go 34-17. Notre Dame wins on this one to go over the was it 44 and a half?
45 and a half. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. 45 and a half. Yeah. I'll go over with you on that one.
Yeah. Again, I just we'll see. I'm not going to use this on my premium card. I'll tell you that, folks. And remember, folks, when we give out these free selections, they're assigned games. So, and I don't assign my games. I do my best, even though I have to schedule these on Monday, not to assign myself a game that I foresee using on on the premium card. Sometimes that happens. Okay. So the free picks on the channel haven't done well over the last couple of weeks. But those of you who have followed us over the long haul know how well we've done with our free picks on this channel. And don't forget, folks, I'm going to tell you what I've done with my premium paid selections recently, most notably over the last few months. And Doug's going to do that right now. Doug, tell the folks exactly what you got going on at Doc Sports, why they should spend their hard-earned money with you, and any streaks you want to share.
Sure. So we're talking about the playoffs of baseball. So on a nice 25-15 run the last 3 years in the postseason. So we'll look to continue that. I do actually have a play today on the National League game. So if you'd like to check that out, you can at the Doug Upstone page at Doc Sports. And of course, with the World Series coming up, so we'll have some action there. And props continue to do very well, Ross. 24-12 MLB props. Did not have a play today, but looking forward to excuse me, something in the near future on that. Like I said, didn't have a great weekend with the NFL. So from that standpoint, still have one for the last 5 weeks. So look to bounce back. Hey, as Ross mentioned, you don't win every week. If that easy, we'd all do it. So if that's the case, so look to just bounce back off of that. NBA, we got that kicking off, so that's a good. Looking forward to get something on that. And those that have followed me over the years know that not exactly what I want to do, but it's just how it goes. For whatever reason, I tend to go on long streaks, okay, and especially with winning. And it's just, for me, I have to say it's the damnedest thing, because that's not how my typical results are. It's where I'll go 50-25 or something like that over a long stretch. But that's just the way it's been the last 3 or 4 years. And so I'm hoping to come right out of the gate and get that baby.
Yeah. And I could tell you with the NBA that I start out sort of slow, not wins and losses wise, but releasing games. Yeah. It takes me time to adjust a little bit to what's going on. I look at the chemistry on each team with the personnel changes and such. And I go from there, but I tend to start going up in volume as the season progresses, coming off a terrific NBA playoffs, coming off a winning NBA year. Now, I mentioned I went 6-9 in college football over the last 2 weeks, but even with that, folks, since September the 14th, I'm 27-14 in college football. That's 66%. Going back to December 2nd of last year, as documented by Sports Capping, 48-28 in college football during that course of time. That's good for 63%. I also mentioned my NFL. Started week 1 terribly, 2-5. Since that time, beginning of week 2 on, 19-11 in the NFL, pretty damn good. And Major League Baseball playoffs, 7-2-1 with my last 10. And going back to August the 4th, and when it comes to streaks, I don't include pushes in it because it's avoided play. Yeah. Yeah. Who cares if you got to push? So in terms of win-loss results, 56-33 in Major League Baseball since August the 4th. That's 63%. Folks, I don't give out big favorites. Doug knows that. Those of you who have followed me for a long time know that. So my return on investment in Major League Baseball, when I'm hitting at 62% over a 2-month period of time with 89 selections, is very good. And then you go back to August 4th and September 14th in all sports. Since August 4th, 115-74, 61% in all sports. And also 67-37 in all sports, 64% since September 12th. If you look at our website, which is gamblersworld.net, you'll find me at the top of the leaderboard when it comes to since the site's inception, which is mid-July. And that goes hand in hand to what I just said. And having a good football season. I mean, since September 14th, 45-25 combined in college football and the NFL. And there you have it. And you can get all my selections along with 9 other great handicappers at gamblersworld.net, where we guarantee all our plays. If you don't win, you don't make a profit on any single game, multi-game, or subscription plan of 30 days or less. It's single game, multi-game, daily package, or subscription plan of 30 days or less. We will credit back your account the exact amount of money that you just spent on that package. So there you have it. And don't forget, folks, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I don't know what you're waiting for. We've really made headway with our subscribers over the last couple months. We're approaching 11,500 subscribers, and we thank each and every one of you. But if you haven't subscribed, you'll see a WC logo on the bottom right-hand corner of your video box. If you're watching on your PC, you'll see a black subscribe button underneath your video box. If you're watching on your smart TV or your mobile device, just click on either or, and that'll get you subscribed. And it costs you absolutely nothing. There's no strings attached. There's no hidden agenda. And for those of you who have subscribed and not done this, and for new subscribers, real important. So you don't have to keep coming back and forth to see when we release or publish a podcast on our channel. All you need to do is go into your YouTube settings and hit that notification alert bell for the Winner's Circle Sports Betting channel. And you'll be alerted and notified right away upon us publishing any of our podcasts on our great channel here. Thank each and every one of you out there. Doug, there's a like button. What can they do for us with that like button?
Knock it down.
Knock it down, baby. Knock it down. Hit that like button. It's just a small token of your appreciation for all the time, effort that we put into giving you a quality podcast each and every time, and to making you a smarter sports bettor today than you were yesterday. For Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, don't forget, visit Doug over at DocSports.com. Visit me, winnerscircle.net. Excuse me, gamblersworld.net. You know what? Too many damn names out there. Gamblersworld.net. This is the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast, and we'll be back tomorrow with Jesse Schule and Sean. No, just Jesse Schule tomorrow morning. We'll be discussing more college football. Sean's got the day off. And then later today, I'll be back with Paul Bovey and Chip Chirimas talking NFL. Once again, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, take care and God bless, folks.